Welcome back to Views with Hughes, your agenda-free news. This is Jerome Hughes. Now, let's go ahead and get right into it. Now, in the months leading up to the release of Disney's Star Wars show, The Acolyte, a lot of fans were really worried about what was coming. Now, we saw the trailer and it got torn apart by fans more than any other Star Wars trailer in history. The cast, crew, and the creator kept talking about how identity politics, diversity, and representation seemed really proud of that, but they didn't mention anything about the characters, the storytelling, on honoring George Lucas, or the rich world of Star Wars. It was all about DEI, which means diversity, equity, and inclusion. And when Disney's Star Wars The Acolyte, made by Kathleen Kennedy and Leslye Headland, finally aired, it was even worse than we could have imagined. Beyond all the preaching they have done, Disney Star Wars The Acolyte by Leslye Headland and Kathleen Kennedy failed in every other aspect: writing, storytelling, character development, and motivations that made no sense and changed on a whim. Now, Disney Star Wars The Acolyte by Kathleen Kennedy and Leslye Headland, probably the worst Star Wars that has ever put out, and that's really saying something considering the low points the franchise has had. And also, despite the media shows trying to convince everyone that the Disney Star Wars The Acolyte by Leslye Headland and Kathleen Kennedy, it was a big success, the real numbers told a different story. Now, it was a complete flop. The verified Nielsen data showed that the Disney Star Wars The Acolyte by Kathleen Kennedy and Leslye Headland was the lowest rated Star Wars project in history, with the fewest viewers tuning in. Now, Leslye Headland, the creator of the Acolyte, has been out there in the past few weeks practically begging for people to want more of Disney Star Wars The Acolyte by Leslye Headland. And Leslye Headland talked about having so many ideas and plans for the characters in the second season, but she had to admit that it hasn't been greenlit yet, as I said before, and they have plans, but no one has signed off on them. And for a good reason. The vast majority of the fans don't want more of Disney Star Wars The Acolyte by Kathleen Kennedy and Leslye Headland. And even Paul Tassi, who's been a pretty strong supporter of Disney Star Wars The Acolyte, is now saying why Disney Star Wars The Acolyte by Kathleen Kennedy and Leslye Headland season 2 seems more and more unlikely. Now, a few of the fans from the Disney Star Wars The Acolyte are making some noise, saying we need to do something. We need more Disney Star Wars The Acolyte. We need someone to tell stories just for our tiny group, the pronouns and bio crowd, and they actually managed to get something trending, people. But they've also pulled off what they see as a big win, where they claim that fans rallied for Disney Star Wars The Acolyte Season 2 renewal, with the hashtag Renew the Acolyte trending ahead of Disney Star Wars The Acolyte by Leslye Headland. Now, you might think, wow, they actually got some people to back them, but maybe Disney will pay attention. But here's the kicker. That big trending movement that they're talking about only had a couple thousand posts, mostly from the same folks actually repeating themselves over and over again. I guarantee you some of them are also bots. But if hashtag Renew the Acolyte trended around 2,500 posts, and I think I saw it might be over 3,000, but we can't really find any screenshots proving that. But this shows the sad state of things today. Now, people are desperately pleading for another season, that the claim of Disney Star Wars The Acolyte by Leslye Headland, an 8-episode series, the 30-minute episodes that cost nearly $200 million. And to put this in like a better perspective, the Disney Star Wars The Acolyte by Leslye Headland and Kathleen Kennedy cost them almost as much as a House of Dragon. And House of the Dragon has a hour-long episodes, and even if some people don't like it, when it comes to storytelling, character development, and production quality, it's in a whole different league compared to Disney Star Wars The Acolyte by Leslye Headland and Kathleen Kennedy. And it's like comparing the Diamond to a piece of coal, or Morgoth to, I don't know, Pippin. But you have a few oddballs out there who want more Star Wars just for them. And if you need the Google representation or whatever to enjoy Star Wars, you were never really a fan to begin with. Now, you want a Star Wars to reflect your life, and that's what all these writers did. And that's what Leslye Headland decided to actually inject into Disney Star Wars The Acolyte by Leslye Headland and Kathleen Kennedy. And as a result, we've seen a total disaster. But let's look at some of the things that, we can't even get enough people being fake mad over the existence of Disney Star Wars The Acolyte. And these people are so entertaining in their outrage, they're looking forward to actually having a Disney Star Wars The Acolyte. Now, do you think it's just, a few people who don't like Disney Star Wars The Acolyte? Do you really think that it's just only a little bit of people out there, when the Disney Star Wars The Acolyte has a 15% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes, lowest rated scored for a Star Wars history from both the audience and viewership perspective? Just think about it. Just a handful of people who don't like Disney Star Wars, The Acolyte, is downright delusional. Now, the hashtag Renewed the Acolyte, Disney Star Wars, The Acolyte brought back the new Star Wars fans that disappeared after 2019. Now, that's a solid reason to renew it. I want to know more about, about Kimmy. We want more of him. Hashtag renew the Acolyte. Now, I don't know about y'all, but to me, this is basically to them the hottest villain they've seen and stuff. But they want to make everything about sex. And then there's the one tweet where it says, this might be my favorite post, guys. This is such good news. Let's keep spreading the word. Hashtag renew the Acolyte. And it's talking about the post where it talks about Disney Star Wars, the Acolyte might get renewed. And analytics from Real Good, which tracks viewing trends across the US streaming platforms, said Disney Star Wars, the Acolyte is the second most successful in terms of streaming and engagement. I think that's a lie, to be honest with you. But that's important reason, but it all comes from super article from Screen Rant, of course, that debunked multiple times where they tried to lie to everyone, and Screen Rant's trying to pull out this chart to say, look, this is Star Wars, the Acolyte is the second most successful one behind the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. But the problem with that is that it's not about viewership. It's actually about engagement. Like people talking about, Disney Star Wars, the Acolyte by Leslye Headland and Kathleen Kennedy. So all the people out there, the 85% of the audience that's on Disney Star Wars, the Acolyte, every week laughing at it and making fun of it, that counts as engagement. That doesn't mean it's good. And it doesn't mean people are actually watching. Now, yeah, Disney Star Wars, the Acolyte is the most hated Star Wars project ever. It came from Leslye Headland and Kathleen Kennedy, and they had to retract these lies about Disney Star Wars, the Acolyte being successful when the real numbers came out, and they were terrible. Now, this is a joke now, but do I think that the Disney Star Wars, the Acolyte could be renewed? I doubt it. Now, we saw something like Andor, which didn't start with massive viewership, and it started slow, but held better than many others in the series. But it seems like, have the increased viewership over time and is well received. And that might make sense to give something like that a second season. Now, Disney Star Wars, the Acolyte, now, not so much. It's the opposite. Fans are actually leaving in droves. Disney Star Wars, the Acolyte, it was a horrible reception that said I could still see that Disney Star Wars putting Disney Star Wars, the Acolyte out, even though they knew that Disney Star Wars, the Acolyte was probably going to flop. Now, I doubt it can happen, but I can see them say that I don't care. We'll burn more money. I don't care. Nobody wants Disney Star Wars, the Acolyte. This is what we want. Of course, Leslye Headland probably saying that, but they're going to keep pushing this and stuff, and I doubt it that it's going to be renewed. Might get the Willow treatment and everything, but Disney Star Wars Acolyte has not been renewed yet, and Disney Star Wars Acolyte is tonight. The series, the season finale is tonight, and I'm pretty sure that there's gonna be like a lot of fans praising it, clapping, and saying, "Thank you, Leslye Headland. This is what I always wanted Star Wars to be: an absolute disaster full of identity politics." But meanwhile, most of the fan base has either abandoned Disney Star Wars, the Acolyte, or is actively mocking Disney Star Wars, the Acolyte, and at every chance that they get. But given how many people are unhappy with Disney Star Wars, the Acolyte by Leslye Headland and Kathleen Kennedy, here's a straightforward look at what might happen in Disney Star Wars, the Acolyte tonight. Now, be sure to expect more disappointments with Disney Star Wars, the Acolyte might keep up the same slow pace and storytelling problems that people have seen so far. And there could be like long scenes that don't move the story forward and conversations that feel awkward or even shallow. And if Disney Star Wars, the Acolyte by Leslye Headland, the characters' actions and the motivations seem confused and inconsistent, don't count on Disney Star Wars, the Acolyte to fix that. You'll probably feel disconnected from Disney Star Wars, the Acolyte. Also, be sure to prepare for more unresolved plots. And a lot of fans are upset that Disney Star Wars, the Acolyte has even started a bunch of subplots without finishing them, okay? But Disney Star Wars, the Acolyte might do the same thing, leaving important questions unanswered. For example, we might not learn much more about the villains' backgrounds or the reasons for their actions and big storylines like the main character's journey or the Jedi versus Sith conflict, or even learn how the Sith became and stuff. Might not get wrapped up in a certain way that people would be happy with, and this could really be frustrating for viewers who have been keeping up with all those plot threads. I mean, don't expect also much growth from Disney Star Wars, the Acolyte characters. By the end of the Disney Star Wars, the Acolyte season or series, they'll probably just be in the same place where they started, without any significant changes or deeper insights into Disney Star Wars, the Acolyte, and the personalities and motivations. And both Disney Star Wars, the Acolyte heroes and villains might feel stagnant, leaving you wondering what the point of Disney Star Wars The Acolyte journey was. Now, if Disney Star Wars The Acolyte relationships between Disney Star Wars The Acolyte characters have felt rushed or even poorly developed so far, don't count on Disney Star Wars The Acolyte to fix it. The interaction might still feel emotionally flat and unsatisfying. And also another thing to consider is that Disney Star Wars The Acolyte finale might be filled with cliches and predictable plot twists, lacking the dramatic surprises that make a Star Wars movie or show exciting. And if you're hoping for a big climatic battle, shocking turn of events, you might end up disappointed. Now, Disney Star Wars The Acolyte episode could end up being really boring, again, failing to deliver the tension, drama people expect from the season finale or series finale. And Disney Star Wars The Acolyte storyline might play it safe, offering no real surprises or engagement content. Now, if Disney Star Wars The Acolyte has been a letdown up to this point, the Disney Star Wars The Acolyte season finale probably won't change your opinion. Now, the Disney Star Wars The Acolyte episode might fall short in providing meaningful resolutions or even character development, leaving many Disney Star Wars The Acolyte plot lines unresolved. And Disney Star Wars The Acolyte narrative surprises might be scarce, making the Disney Star Wars The Acolyte finale feel like a predictable conclusion to an already disappointing season. Now, the Disney Star Wars The Acolyte visuals might be the only consistent highlight, but good graphics alone make up for a lackluster story. But let's be honest, what do you guys think? Is there any hope for a second season of Disney Star Wars The Acolyte? Let me know your thoughts about this in the comments below. Also, be sure to include any additional details you may have of this particular topic. If you enjoyed what I shared in this video, go ahead, smash the like button, share far wide across social media. And if you have done so already and you enjoyed all the content that I put out there, go ahead, subscribe to the channel, click the bell notification so that way you'll be notified of future uploads and updates. Till then, peace.